Avoid dating a rape victim. This could be included with the previous point, but rape and sexual abuse have such a devastating effect on the female psyche that it's worth covering this problem in its own bullet point. If a woman was ever raped, or claims to have been raped, politely excuse yourself and move on to the next woman. This is the only kind of emotional baggage you shouldn't have to deal with and shouldn't risk getting involved with. That's right, it's even worse than kids. There are only two conclusions one can arrive at when dealing with a girl who was or claims to have been raped. 1. If she actually was raped, her ability to have enjoyable sex is tainted and destroyed by the crime perpetrated against her. She will carry the horror and memory of the rape forever, and you will stay up until 4 a.m. listening to her sob and vomit because your back rubs and dry humping triggered her PTSD. 2. If she only thinks she was raped, or is lying about it, you run the risk of being her next accused rapist. This is just as likely to happen whether she was raped or not. Obviously, this isn't a call to disassociate yourself from anyone who has suffered trauma. As with all trauma, people often recover from it and lead healthy, happy lives, and they are no less deserving of our attention and love. In fact, they need it more than most people, just not from a boyfriend. However, for the purposes of online dating and keeping yourself safe from real, life-altering consequences, false accusations as well as other people's issues you simply do not need to deal with, you are a lot wiser to play your cards wisely by seeking out a girl without that specific trauma of rape. Be careful if her photos don't quite add up. You haven't come across a completely fake profile. However, you notice that all of her photos are close-up shots of her face, or all of her photos are taken at 45-degree angles above her head. She has photos of friends and family instead of herself, or her dog, or, worst of all, random romantic memes. I absolutely guarantee you this chick is fat and or ugly. Every single good-looking woman knows she looks spanking hot and won't hesitate to show it off. If you can't find any photos of her showing off her entire body, she's a catfish. Never, however, demand to see more photos of her, since women immediately know what you are up to when you ask. Instead, ask her for her Facebook or another social media platform. Make up an excuse when you do it, such as, "It's easier to communicate since I never use this app and plan on deleting it soon." She might still smell your BS, but if she refuses, you're going to know why and you won't need to waste any more time. Green lights to look out for. You've probably read up to this point and thought, oh my lord, are there any good women left in this world? If we're talking about genuinely good women, probably not, and if there are, they aren't using online dating because they have been taken by an alpha male in the real world. However, if by good, we mean a woman who is at least agreeable, has little emotional baggage, is open to dating you and possibly even having sex with you, I'm here to warmly tell you yes. Yes, there are plenty of good women left, and you're going to find them all thanks to online dating. It should also be obvious what you should be looking for with online dating: women who are attractive, emotionally stable, fun to be with, and have a few things going for her. So many women are using online dating who fit that description. Your only problem is getting them to answer your messages. You don't need me to tell you that, do you? Here is one very odd but sure sign that the woman you are looking at is a catch. It's by no means an obvious sign, and you'll be pretty shocked when you hear how simple it is. Her "About Me" is short. That's it. A short "About Me" section is a sign that she really wants to talk and meet. It might sound like the sign of a catfish or a scammer, but let me tell you, some of my best lays happened with women who didn't bother filling out their details. Instead, her "About Me" section simply says, "If you have any questions, message me." She hasn't written a novel about her life, she hasn't foisted a long list of impossible demands in your face, she's literally asking you to talk to her in order to find out more about her, like real human beings do in the real human world. When you see that invitation to talk to her, you spring on it. Chapter Review. It's time to quickly review the 5 major takeaways of this chapter. 1. There are a lot of single mothers with online dating, and you will most likely have to go out with them at some point if you ever want to date a girl at all. 2. If there's one thing you should clutch more tightly than a girl, it's your wallet. 3. If you're dealing with a girl with emotional trauma, don't try to fix her. Just be an emotional buttress, and if she doesn't pay out in a timely manner, she's just using you as an emotional punching bag. 4. Women say a lot of things in their profiles, but they actually mean something else. Learn the language of women and interact accordingly. 5. If a girl has a short bio literally asking you to message her, do it right now. Chapter 3: How to send your first message and arrange a date. You've set up your online dating profile. You've scrolled through your seemingly endless options and sized up the different types of women you'll be asking out. Now it's time for the pièce de résistance. I am going to teach you the secret, ancient art of sending messages to women online. But first, I have to go over the common wisdom that journalists and online dating administrators have told you, and how everything they say is completely wrong. By destroying the lies you have been told by the politically correct establishment and exposing the myths, I'm going to teach you how to craft real messages that prove to women you are something else and way ahead of all the other chumps hounding her inbox. Exposing the myths about sending your first message. Most of what you're about to hear might make sense on the surface. They are well-intentioned platitudes bestowed upon us by female bloggers and the administrators of online dating websites, but they are actually the toxic beliefs that have held you back from ever getting a girlfriend. Myth: send her a thoughtful, paragraph-length message. Nope, nope, nope. Truth is, it doesn't matter how poetic and thoughtful your puny little advances are. If your profile doesn't look remotely close to Ryan Gosling or Brad Pitt, you are wasting your time by relying exclusively on thoughtfulness. If you are attractive enough, and if the girl in question is ugly and desperate enough, you can get away with a simple "hey," and she will respond back. What's even more ironic is, even though most women complain about how boring and unthoughtful most messages from men they receive, the messages women send to me are even more brief, uninspired, and devoid of any thought whatsoever. That should tell you something important: either women are hypocrites and expect men to do all the mental heavy lifting, or their complaints about the quality of your messages is actually just a shit test meant to divert attention from what they really want. What they really want isn't a thoughtful message, but an attractive man to send them any message at all. Tough pill to swallow, but once you're used to it, online dating becomes significantly easier. Myth: avoid complimenting her physical appearance. This piece of bullshit popular wisdom is such a huge lie, the dictionary needs a new word for it. Of course, this myth didn't come from nowhere. According to the OkCupid blog, messages from men sent to women that contain words such as sexy, beautiful, hot, and cutie receive less responses than messages that contain more neutral words, such as cool, pretty, interesting, and awesome. Therefore, they admonish all online dating males, since what's there to lecture women about, to avoid complimenting a girl's appearance and instead use neutral words to talk about her interests. There is so much that OkCupid has omitted or gotten wrong, I don't know where to start. For example, we have no way of determining whether it's because the male users said overtly sexual words that the women aren't responding, or if there's another reason that women aren't taking the bait. Correlation doesn't prove causation. OkCupid's statistics can go straight to hell for all I care. Let's be fair, if the only thing you say to a girl is, "Wow, you are hot," or "Hey beautiful, let's get sexy," then it doesn't take a double-digit IQ score to realize women will never be impressed by that. They receive those messages 100 times an hour. Stop listening to women when they complain about being treated like a meatbag or an object. Women spend copious amounts of time wearing makeup, they make entire careers out of uploading hot photos to their Instagram and Facebook accounts, and the fashion industry is one of the most lucrative businesses in the market. Women love having their appearances noticed. Oh please, telling men not to compliment her appearance is the biggest shit test ever, devised to keep unworthy men who aren't alpha enough to see through the charade from wasting her time. When women complain about men openly complimenting her sexual countenance, they aren't complaining about the compliment, they're complaining about the sexual quality of the complimenters, who are usually pathetically beneath a woman's outrageous standards. You need to compliment her appearance. You need to immediately indicate your sexual interest, but do so in a tactful and clever way. The real reason why women are tired of being called beautiful and sexy is because they hear the same boring lines all of the time, from the same losers they would rather be killed by than fuck. Stop listening to women. When she tells you to stop complimenting her appearance, what she is really asking for is for you to turn it up a notch. Like so. "Hey, I don't want to come off too strong, but wow, you are so outrageously attractive, you must have hundreds of dudes filling up your inbox. I know I'm just another one of those guys, but hot damn, I can't just not to talk to you. Young grasshopper, I have just bestowed upon you my most secret and powerful weapon for online dating. This message, and variations of it, has won me more lays than any other, and it breaks every single rule women and our politically correct society tells us is the proper, and decent way to treat a woman. See what I did in that opening? I wasn't apologizing for being attracted to her, that's just pathetic and won't earn respect from her, but I indicated that I have a lot more social awareness than most of her suitors by pointing out that I could possibly be coming off stronger than is appropriate, and that there is a lot more demand for her attention than just me. I'm not the only guy in her world. An alpha male has supreme social awareness. I only used one overtly sexual word, attractive, and that isn't even very overt. You might criticize me for being obtuse and gushing, arguably a beta male behavior, but I'll be damned, I'd rather feign an intense amount of interest only to be shot down than put out a weak, disinterested front and be shoved aside like the rest of her suitors. The second sentence serves multiple functions. You need to convince the girl that you are literally compelled against your will to give her attention, that you normally have so much more decency that to act like the rest of the dogs chasing her, yet something unbelievably special about her that makes it more regrettable if you never spoke to her at all than to be rejected by her. This isn't your normal behavior, but there's something crazy about her that's possessed you and you just can't figure out. She already knows she is beautiful. Your goal, however, is to make her feel like she is the only fucking girl you've ever thought that way about, even if, and it obviously is, a bald-faced, bloody lie. Obviously, a lot of girls will see through it. Many other girls still won't respond to it because they're attention whores, you aren't handsome enough, or they read this book and think I'm a misogynist. Online dating is a numbers game. You need to keep plugging away and one girl will inevitably take your bait. Here's another good one, similar to the previous message. I almost never ask out a girl who's so clearly out of my league, but let's face it, I could never live with myself if I didn't at least try to talk to you. Did you see that? I didn't use a single one of OkCupid's blacklisted words, and yet I just complimented a girl's appearance more powerfully than if I told her she was every one of those words and more. How can a woman read those two messages and not feel like a special little duck? She has no heart if she doesn't at least say thank you, and probably wouldn't be worth your time anyways. It might still be ignored, there is never a surefire guarantee that every woman will answer a message. But damn, she'll realize you had to read a lot of smart books in order to come up with that one. Myth: bring up specific interests. Common wisdom teaches us that, in your preliminary online dating message, you should mention shared interests you have with the girl in order to establish a connection and prove to her that you actually read her profile. Yawn. Utter bogus. Don't waste your time reading through every single profile and hunting for trivial details you might have in common with her. Truth is, it's not just a hobby or a niche that makes a girl sexually attracted to you. That's only if you're looking for a friend, and only a platonic friend, at that. It'd be great if you had some common interests, but the girls most likely to date you aren't going to have a whole lot besides basic things in common with you. Such as the desire to have a fancy dinner, watch a murder documentary at your place, snuggle, and have wild monkey sex all night. The time to read a girl's profile is after she responds to your first message. Once you get her talking, that's when you single her out and start studying her interests and tics, and you start bringing those into the conversation. Myth: use good grammar and spelling, write in complete sentences. This isn't so much a myth, as it is just another red herring designed to throw off gullible beta males and disguising the real reason women don't respond to your messages. Obviously, you should opt for better writing than worse writing when sending your first online dating message. However, I'll ironically note that a lot of the women online don't heed this advice at all when writing their "about me" or sending messages back to you. Your writing quality matters to the women for whom it matters to, but it doesn't matter to all or really a lot of women. Most women online are terrible writers themselves. And even for the women whom writing style does matter, the more attractive of an alpha male you are, the more likely that same stingy woman is going to forgive you for your lack of grasp on the English language. Use the spray and pray strategy. In his book, The Rational Male, author Rollo Tomasi explains one of the biggest mistakes made by the average chump when it comes to looking for women. Because most of us were raised and taught by our mothers to believe that we must find one single romantic partner to fall in love with for the rest of our lives, we become what Tomasi calls a sniper. The chump scopes out one outrageously attractive woman and spends all of his energy and time targeting her for romantic prospects. As any disillusioned chump will realize once this girl puts him in the friend zone, this is the worst possible method a man can use. A man cannot bring a sniper into this fight. He needs to carry a shotgun. Don't hide under the bushes miles away creeping on one girl, barge straight into the battlefield and unload on as many targets as possible. Whether you are online dating or in real life, your greatest chance for success at finding a girl is to ask as many of them out as you can. This is one area where online dating has a huge advantage over trying to approach women in the real world. In the real world, you're fortunate to come across one attractive woman a day, and most of the time she is preoccupied and not open to advances. Most of the time, you are never in a social context where making sexual advances is even acceptable. However, online, you have hundreds and even thousands of female profiles just waiting to be messaged. With online dating, you can hit up dozens and hundreds of women every day. I once thought POF had a limit of 50 profiles you could message per day, but I'm not sure if they lifted that limit since this writing. You have exponentially more opportunities to meet women online in a safe zone than you do bumbling around with strangers at the mall or a coffee shop. That means, by sheer math, more dates. But what is the most efficient way to send messages to the maximum number of girls possible? Copy and pasting is your best friend. There's another myth that we are told by women and the administrators of online dating websites that belongs in the previous sections, but also deserves a section of its own. The best messages are unique and include specific points about her profile. As you saw in previous examples, this is a big fat lie. According to Business Insider, for a woman to be certain she will receive a response from a man her own age, she needs to send only 25 messages. However, for a man to be 99% certain he will receive a response from a woman his own age, he needs to send 114 messages. That's only for a single response. For a full-fledged date, a man needs to send hundreds, maybe thousands, if he's even dateable at all. It's all a cycle. If women are generally more reluctant to respond to men's advances, then men must increase their number of advances to make reciprocation statistically probable. That, in turn, makes women answer even fewer messages, which prompts men to upgrade their guns, reload and fire. The fucked up system feeds itself, and like I keep saying, dating is really just a numbers game only the most intrepid man can beat. You beat this game with the spray and pray strategy for online dating, and here's how it works. Compose one or several generic messages that follow the rules I stated previously, and breaks all the rules dating website blogs brainwash the masses with, and then fire them off to virtually every woman who is remotely within your dating standards. Copy-paste messages are not only okay, they are the only way to go without wasting hours of time and energy reading the profiles of hundreds of girls who 99% of the time will not acknowledge you. If she doesn't give any of the hundreds of men who fill her inbox 3 seconds to read their profiles, why on earth should you waste time reading hers? There's a rumor that dating sites block and delete copy-pasted messages. I've never had this happen to me, and I've probably sent out tens of thousands of them. The only messages I've had censored contained profanity, nothing a few simple asterisks can't evade. I suggest that you reword any of the sample messages I give you in this book. If a girl's inbox fills up with dozens and dozens of the same copy-paste messages, she's going to see right through you. Yes, I have had girls tell me they received the exact same message word for word from other guys, which is why I stopped copying messages from online men's forums and started cooking up messages of my own. Examples of excellent online dating copy and paste openers. There are a lot of online dating blogs that share lists of the best first messages. I seriously don't need to waste time telling you that a short, "Hey there, baby," or "How are you doing?" is ever going to net you anything. However, what you need to realize is, if you're an ultra-attractive alpha male, women are going to respond regardless. In fact, they will probably message you first. But you're obviously not a wildly attractive alpha male model, or else you wouldn't be reading this book. You're an average chump with enough going for him in terms of looks that, as long as you exhibit 24/7 attractive behavior, you can at least fool ladies into believing you are alpha. Breaking the fourth wall. It's always best to open up to a girl in a way that shows you are aware of all the normal courtship conventions, especially the tiresome clichés, and turn those clichés on their head. In fact, you can be so ironic that you don't even write her a real message at all. Like so. Insert cheesy pickup line here. Some girls might judge you as being lazy, but others might be puzzled enough to respond. As opposed to a gushing message like previous examples, a brief and cynical opener like this shows a girl you are aloof and not easily disposed to petty romantic conventions. You become more elusive to her, which in turn increases your mystique and desirability. Go straight for it. If you come upon a girl who appears slutty, here is another line I have heard works well for a lot of men. "Oh boy, you look like trouble." This is covert, but not so covert, communication at its finest. Trouble can still mean anything, but invites the most obvious interpretation, especially when accompanied by a mischievous winky emoji. Adventure story opener. If you ever read those choose-your-own adventure books when you were a kid, you'll know what I'm talking about. You wake up on a beach next to a backpack and a gun. Your head is hazy and your whole body hurts, but you're alive. You don't remember how you came here, but there is nobody else in sight, possibly for miles. What do? "I don't know if this one ever got me laid." Remember, it's not the message, but your profile that makes a girl decide if you're dateable and fuckable. However, it started a lot of conversations, especially with the nerd types who enjoy role-playing games, not necessarily of the erotic type. The only downside to this opener is that you might get wrapped up in playing this game with her, rather than getting to know her and getting a date. This opener could either be brilliant, or a waste of your time. Choose wisely, young chump. Implement reverse psychology by making a bet. This first message follows along one of the important points that I make in the next chapter, that is, the importance of making fun of a girl in order to make her attracted to you. Hey there. Wow. You are so gorgeous and I bet your inbox is so full of messages, I bet $50 you won't answer this message. It looks like you owe me $50. Darn it. It will go toward dinner and a movie, how's that sound? Winking face. Use reverse psychology to your advantage. A girl expects that every guy she messages is eternally grateful for every bit of attention she gives him. Yet here, you're telling her that she isn't going to message you. Suggesting this idea actually makes her more likely to answer your message. Notice also what happens in your second response, if she does answer your message and inevitably demands for her winning bets. Using the bet money for a date is the smoothest way to bring your online encounter into real life in the fastest way possible. Use emojis and GIFs to your tactical advantage. Emojis and GIF images are highly useful, but most people abuse them and don't use them the way they should be used. I don't recommend sprinkling all of your messages with smiles, frowns, and hearts. It looks incredibly silly and doesn't even add much to the emotion of your messages. Only women do that, and no straight woman wants to screw another pussy. However, when used as a message or a response to a message in and of themselves, emojis standing alone can communicate your feelings better than any words could. For example, there are many times throughout a conversation when she responds bluntly and doesn't give you much direction in the way of reply. You can smooth out the bump in the road by just sending a single emoji or two, and now you've set the onus back on her to respond. Here's another example. Let's say it's been a few days since you last spoke to a girl. You're worried she might be ghosting on you, but you don't want to try reviving the conversation with a dumb old "hey" or "what's up." Instead of using words, this is the perfect time to send her just one or two emojis, a pair of sunglasses, or a wink and a kiss, or an upside-down smile are all subtle ways of playfully poking a girl to get her attention. Important, go for dates, not just responses. I can't tell you how many times I send a woman my best copy and paste messages, filled with over-the-top genuflections of her superiority to all other women, only to get a short thank you, or "aw, you're sweet," in response. It's even more despairing how few of these same women will ever continue talking when I try to continue the conversation. She was impressed, but when she looked at your profile, you don't fit her bill and she's chucked you in the "ignore forever" bin. That's online dating, gentlemen. Actually, that's just dating women, period. Remember, your goal isn't just to get women to respond to your clever messages. Your goal is to go out on dates with them. You might be able to arouse her from her hypergamic slumber just briefly enough that she will gaze down upon you and giggle softly at your puny advances before flicking you off her shoulder like the feeble little bug you are to her, but unless your profile is absolutely stunning and she just happens to be in the mood, you're only wasting neurons coming up with clever pickup lines. Even more important, send an original message. Ironically, after I just finished showing you examples of great online dating messages, I'm now going to warn you against using any of them. Here's the problem, a lot of these messages are already popular go-tos for many guys, which means most girls have probably heard them. I'm not saying you shouldn't use any of these lines, what would be the point of including them in this book? Instead, modify them enough so that they fit your unique persona, and so that they don't cause women to block you because they've heard the same line so many times. The best time to send online dating messages. According to online dating website Zoosk, the most common time of day for men to message women is between 9 and 10 in the morning. So to not have your message drowned in a sea of competition, they advise men to wait to message women until between 9:45 and 11 p.m. Everyone is home from work, settled in, and probably scrolling on their phones all evening anyways. What's the best day of the week to send an online dating message? Common wisdom would tell us to start hitting up women on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. That's when dates happen, right? Wrong. If you're waiting until the weekend to send messages, women have probably already made their plans, which most likely include dates with men who are cleverer and better looking than you. According to reliable sources and my own experience, the best days of the week to send online dating messages are Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. Your first message is useless unless you have an attractive profile. For all the time I've spent teaching you how to send a first message to a woman, and all the examples I've provided you with, it might be dispiriting and nihilistic of me to now tell you that what you write to a girl doesn't matter one bit. Why'd you waste all that time, then? Why should I even bother messaging girls at all? That's not what I'm saying. It will help if you use your imagination and reverse the genders for a second. Let's say we lived in a world where women make the first move on guys. Those are the rules of an app called Bumble, but there's a reason why guys never get messaged. What if a message landed in your inbox? Hey, their smiling face with smiling eyes, the profile picture is of an outrageously attractive woman. You immediately look at her profile. Wow, you're both into snowboarding. Oh my god, you think, is this too good to be true? How could such a hot girl want to talk to me? In the real world, yes, it would definitely be too good to be true, she'd be a scammer, hands down. But let's say this woman was real, would you turn down the most attractive girl you've ever seen just because she didn't write a long, thoughtful message and noticed you had the same interests? Hell no. You're going to text her right back and sail all the 7 seas, just to get a bit of her action. You don't even remember how she opened up to you, you don't care one bit what she actually said, only how she looks and the unspoken vibes she's giving off through her behavior and her appearance. It works the same way with girls. If an outrageously attractive man with the rare alpha vibe approaches her, he could literally say, hey, or just wink and she will be immediately after him. He might not even notice her before she notices him. Here's the kicker, though, there are far less men whom women find very attractive than women whom men find very attractive. Ultimately, what it comes down to is how attractive your profile is. However, a good first message that's more than, hey there, is just a good way to get her to notice you for a moment above the rest of the men vying for her attention. The substance of the message itself doesn't matter, as long as it gets her attention in a positive way long enough to bother looking at your profile photos and judge how attractive you are. How to deal with being ignored and rejected. If you ever embark on online dating, the most common experience you will ever have is mostly that of being ignored and rejected by hopelessly gorgeous women. That's how it is with women, period. Less than 1 out of every 100 messages a guy sends is statistically certain to be answered, and that answer might not even come from a woman you'd like to date. I'd like to boast that my return rate is significantly greater than that, but that's after I beefed up my online dating profile and utilized every first message weapon in my arsenal. Just like the job market, 95% of this game is rejection. Get used to it. Don't get hung up over one profile. If you're a novice, there's probably going to be that one woman's profile you're obsessed with. You spend an hour composing the perfect message, even referencing all the techniques in this guide, before sending it to her and waiting in eager expectation. Sure as shit, she doesn't answer. A few hours, or perhaps a day later, you send another message. Then another. And another. Then you try sending one last message, but you've been blocked. Moral of the story, never get hung up on a single woman, let alone one profile. Remember, carry a shotgun, not a sniper rifle. If she's ignoring you, avoid sending multiple messages. This is fairly common wisdom. If you send a girl a message and she doesn't respond within 6 hours, there is a 75% chance she is ignoring you. After 24 hours, it's absolutely certain she is ignoring you. With the way smartphones keep message and app notifications opened until you click on them and view them, it's almost impossible to miss a message from anyone these days. In all fairness, if she's ignoring you, another message, or 100 of them, isn't going to resurrect her attention from the dead. Unless it's a total game changer, "Hey, so I just won the lottery, want me now?" or "Hey, I just infected you with HIV," there's no point in sending a message until she responds to your previous message. On the other hand, additional messages aren't going to hurt your prospects with her anymore, since she already isn't interested in you. But the only reason I would err on the side of avoiding another desperate message is in the rare case when she really did miss your message. She logs back on to answer you, and now she sees this rambling diatribe about how she's so cruel for ignoring you. You just sabotaged your relationship by allowing your weak, beta impulses to possess you. Don't be picky, keep sending messages. As soon as you start receiving attention from a woman, you're going to instantly forget the other 100 women who never answered your messages. That's why you have to keep the message-sending machine gun cranked up and firing constantly. The more messages you send, the more likely you are to start receiving some feedback. This is a game in which you cannot be picky or discriminating. Dial back your standards. If she is even remotely attractive, hit her up right away. Chapter Review. It's time to go over the 5 key takeaways of this chapter. 1. Ditch the sniper. Carry a shotgun. Dial back your standards and hit up as many women as possible. 2. Don't waste your time poring over every girl's profile and curating a unique message for each one of them. Instead, compose a flawless one-size-fits-all message and blast it to every profile that's even remotely attractive. 3. Always compliment a girl's appearance, even though women say they hate it and dating blogs say it doesn't work. But tell her she is beautiful in such a way that she's heard from no one else. 4. It takes more than 100 messages from the average guy before he is guaranteed to receive a single response. You will be mostly ignored and rejected. Get used to it. 5. It doesn't matter what you open with, or how clever your first message is, if you don't have an attractive profile, you will never get women's attention.